Welcome back to Smart and Crazy, the show where we talk about everything from the science of the universe to the future of video games. John, you ready to dive into some seriously mind blowing stuff today?
Always ready, Sarah, especially when it comes to the world of gaming. I was just thinking, remember those old school video games? The ones you actually own? The ones you could play even if the internet was down? Like I used to have a copy of Super Mario Bros. On my NES, and I could play the thing whenever I wanted, no strings attached.
Oh man, those were the days. I still have my Game Boy Advance tucked away somewhere, but things have changed, haven't they? We're living in a world where even the most popular video games, the ones everyone's talking about, can vanish overnight if the server shuts down. It's like renting a movie instead of buying it, but with even less control.
You're not wrong. There's definitely a sense of loss there. But I do have to say, the gaming industry has come a long way since those days. We've got incredible graphics, immersive storylines, and games that are connected to millions of players around the world. It's hard to argue with that kind of progress.
True, but all that progress comes with a price. And that price is often paid by the gamers themselves. We're talking about the rise of the live service model where games are constantly updated with new content, and that content is often tied to microtransactions. And this is where things get interesting because we're seeing major gaming companies like Ubisoft struggling to keep their heads above water, largely because of their heavy reliance on this model.
Okay, I'm ready for the deep dive, Sarah. What exactly is going on with Ubisoft? They've been around forever, right?
Absolutely. They're known for their iconic franchises like Assassin's Creed and Splinter Cell, but lately their stock prices have been plummeting. Their games haven't been selling as well as they hoped, and they seem to be in a constant state of, well, crisis.
So what's the problem? Are people just tired of Assassin's Creed?
It's not just about Assassin's Creed, though that franchise has definitely seen its fair share of ups and downs. It's about the way they're approaching game development. They've been putting a lot of their eggs in the live service basket, and it's not going well.
But isn't that the future of gaming? Everyone's doing it, right?
It might seem like that, John, but that doesn't mean it's a good idea. Here's the thing, Ubisoft seems to be prioritizing making money over making good games. They're pushing out content just for the sake of content without really caring about whether it's meaningful or engaging. Think about their recent releases like A Skull and Bones and Text Defiant. Both of these games have been met with a lot of criticism and they're not performing well commercially.
Whoa, slow down. Let's talk about these games. You're saying they're bad.
Okay, let's break this down. A Skull and Bones was supposed to be this epic pirate game with a huge budget, years in development, and a whole lot of hype. But when it finally came out, people were like, this is just Assassin's Creed IV Black Flag with a new coat of paint. The gameplay felt repetitive, the story was uninspired, and the microtransactions were excessive.
But wasn't it supposed to be a live service game? Wasn't that the whole point?
Yes, it was, but even with the live service model, the content has to be good. People aren't going to keep coming back if all they get is the same recycled stuff. They're going to get bored.
I guess you're right. It's like that with a lot of these live service games. You play for a while, you get the new content, and then you lose interest. It's like a constant treadmill.
Exactly. And then there's Vex Defiant, which is a first person shooter. It's basically Call of Duty with a Ubisoft twist. And guess what? It's struggling to find a player base.
I can see why. So, what's the big takeaway here, Sarah? Is Ubisoft just dead? Is this the end of the reign?
It's hard to say for sure, but it's definitely a warning sign, not just for Ubisoft, but for the entire gaming industry. What Ubisoft's struggles highlight is the potential downsides of the live service model. Games are becoming less about ownership and more about continuous monetization.
You know what else is crazy? There was this one YouTuber who claimed that Skull and Bones cost somewhere between $650 million to $850 million to develop. That's an absolutely insane amount of money for a game that ended up being, well, a flop.
Mind blown, that's almost enough money to fund a small country. It makes you wonder where all that money goes, especially when the final product doesn't match the investment.
I wonder if there's a way to create games that are both profitable and engaging for players. We can't just keep pumping out these live service titles with their endless grind and microtransactions, right? People are starting to push back.
Absolutely. It's like the whole industry is caught in this loop where they feel like they have to keep churning out these live service games, but the players are getting burned out. It's a recipe for disaster.
So, what's the answer? What's the future of gaming?
That's the question, John. That's the question we need to figure out. We're on the precipice of a huge shift in the gaming landscape. We've seen it happen with other industries like music and movies, where the way we consume content has changed dramatically. What will the future of gaming look like? Will we move away from the live service model and embrace new ways of playing?
I think it's all about finding that balance. We want games that are innovative, engaging, and rewarding for players, but we also want them to be profitable for the companies that make them. It's a delicate dance.
And maybe, just maybe, we can start to see a shift towards a more player centric approach. Games that are designed to be enjoyed, not exploited, games that we can truly own and cherish, not just rent and forget about.
It's not just about the games themselves. It's also about the communities that form around them. Those communities are the heart of the gaming world, and they're becoming more and more influential.
This is so true, John. Gamers are no longer just consumers, they're also creators, critics, and influencers. They have a voice and they're not afraid to use it.
And it's important that companies listen to that voice. They need to realize that players are their biggest asset. Without them, there are no games, no communities, and no money.
So, John, where do you think we go from here? What kind of future do you see for gaming?
I think the future is bright, Sarah. I think we'll see a resurgence of traditional gaming, a focus on quality over quantity, and a shift towards a more sustainable model. Gamers will be in the driver's seat, and they'll be demanding more from the companies that make the games they love.
I'm cautiously optimistic, John, but I think it's going to take a lot of work. We need to be critical thinkers, we need to be vocal, and we need to support companies that are pushing the boundaries in the right direction.
And I'm hoping this discussion, this exploration of the change in gaming landscape, will help to start that conversation. We need to talk about these issues. We need to question the status quo, and we need to demand better.
Exactly, John, exactly. So, listeners, what are your thoughts? Have you seen any of the games we discussed? What are your favorite games? What are your concerns about the future of gaming? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with your friends.
And keep those minds curious, everyone. This is Smart and Crazy signing off. Until next time, keep exploring.